lick about Florida now. I know you have now. It's, they pretty much know you and you know them. It's not really a mystery anymore.
Yeah, we've been through the video from this past weekend, and we had a really solid practice today in the heat. We kind of had to change our schedules, and we appreciate you guys accommodating us on that, because we really felt like at the very least it'd be 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and with a 12 o'clock Eastern start, we got to get used to that time of day again. So yeah, we the more you look at Florida, the more it's just over and over again, they're really solid. Everything about their pitching staff, the way they defend the field, and everything about the way their 1 through 9 operates, they're really good. So we're gonna have to be very good against them. The thing that's good though is for the most part we feel like we've played well against them. We feel like 2 of the games were very, very winnable. Another one, it would have taken a couple of hits, but we've really only played poorly against them in 1 game. So we feel like we can be very competitive. We feel like we can win, and it doesn't matter what John Cohen thinks. It matters what our kids think, and they really believe that we're on a roll. We can go down there and win some games.
The last few games we keep talking about this with CT, and now he's going back to his home state. That can go one of 2 ways. Too much pressure maybe kicks him up a little bit more. How do you think he's going to handle that this
Well,
year?
I always tease him. I was telling actually today, I said, we're going to leave from Birmingham, so, we're leaving from your home state. And he goes, I'm from Florida. I said, no, you're not. You're from L.A. You're from Lower Alabama. You're not from Florida. So, that state really is in 3 different areas. It's the central area of the state. And then you have the Panhandle, and then you have the south part of the state. And he is definitely considered more one of us. So I can tell that all of them than one of them. But yeah, I think he's going to have a good time going back to his home state. We have Collins as well, but I really feel like our kids are focused in, and I think they're going to treat it just like they did this past weekend as a business trip.
Should we talk to them about changing it from Player of the Year in Florida to Player of the Year in Lower Alabama?
Yeah, that's exactly right. But that's a tremendous honor on his part, and Florida's just one of those great baseball states. It's a great everything state athletically, but baseball has always been a very deep tradition. When you recruit in the state of Florida, every street seems like has an ex-big leaguer on it. So, yeah, it's a great tradition there. And, of course, McKeithen's a very difficult place to play. It'll be really hot, but it'll be just as hot for Florida as it is for Mississippi State. So, again, we're excited about this opportunity. We're going to get down there and prepare just like we did this past week.
How much does his maturity and maybe patience, especially at this time of year, has to do with Mike and just what he can provide to him, throughout his career, and just what he does to him, he talks to him about him every day?
Well, you're definitely a product of your parents, so I'm sure that Mike has a lot to do with it. And then Mike's played in some big games here at Mississippi State. So sure, he's a very mature kid, but a lot of our kids are mature, and again, I think that their parents have a big part in that. But yeah, that's one of the things that really attracted us to CT is his level of maturity and the way he works at it every single day. It's fun to be around that type of element, and you need that type of element in your program to win. There's no question about it.
Every year, does it seem like about this point, maybe a couple weeks earlier, your freshmen and some of those young guys, first-year guys, is when they really turn that corner? Just you almost count on it every year.
Yeah, I think they can turn the corner if you have moments where you can rest them and be patient with them. When you can't, when freshmen hit that wall and they're forced into action and there's no opportunity for you to sit them, rest them, and have them prepare for that future spot, everything just gets sped up for them. So, we had a day at Tennessee where we sat CT. He had a little bit of the hamstring thing going. We thought we might pitch him. I think that was a big deal for him to be able to have the depth to do something like that. And, of course, I think Evan's pitching so well right now, another freshman, just because, he hit a little bit of a wall. We gave him some time to recover from that, and he's come back from that nicely too. So depth is a great thing because that allows you to progress at a certain rate instead of just being thrown into it. A year ago, we're asking freshmen in an SEC game, hey, you've got to pitch 7 or 8. I mean, we've got to get 120 pitches out of him. That's just, that's a recipe for disaster. So I think, having some depth really helps in all those areas.
I know the transition over the last few years hasn't always been incredibly smooth. You were talking about C.T. Bradford's personality. Is this the first team that has the personality you're looking? Does it feel like your team kind of for the first?
Well, you kind of build it in terms of recruiting. The kids who are attracted to you, there's that old recruiting saying, you get who you are, not who you want. So many times in coaching, you want the 5-tool guy, and you want, well, those are the guys who are, the first, second rounders out of high school. You get who you are, and I think your kids that are attracted to the program are attracted the way you run it. And so, yeah, I think there's a level of toughness for the kids who are coming in here. There's no secret. I mean, in the recruiting process, if you're going to come play here for our staff, you're going to have to push yourselves. That's not attractive to a lot of kids.
Right.
There's some kids, but we're going to get the right kids. And, and that's not a criticism of anybody before. It's just, all we can see is the kids that are coming in now. So I think there has been a little bit of a progression. I'm so proud of our kids who've been here for 4 years, Collins and Freeman. Those kids are really tough kids. They've been great leaders for us because they've been through a difficult time over the last 4 years, and now we're starting to see, some reward from that.
People from the outside call the program scrappy or gritty. I mean, what does that entail to you? I mean, are you guys scrappy, or what is your definition of intensity?
Well, I was teasing my daughters last week, because I guess, they said, hey, you got a bunch of little guys. I said, well, really? Let's go around the infield. Here's Jerron Shepard little. He's 6'3", weighs 185 pounds, Let's go to Brent Brownlee. Is he little? He's 6'2", weighs 195. I mean, you go around.
Right.
What we have are a couple, maybe 2 or 3 really undersized kids, and everybody jumps onto that. Paul Urano's a little guy who competes like a lion. Ogden's a little guy who competes like a lion. C.T. Bradford's a little tiny guy who's just got huge heart and great ability. So people stare at those 3 guys, but I don't want to mistake ever or shortchange our kids for scrappy for skill level. C.T. Bradford's a little guy. He's got skill level. Luis Paul Urano's 5'6", but he throws his fastball 90 miles an hour every once in a while. There are a lot of guys 6'3" who aren't throwing a baseball 90 miles an hour who are left-handed. So, yes, I love the idea of scrappy overachiever, but there's some skill level too.
You've had Florida in bigger ballparks in the games you've played against them this year. Going down there, how does that change, from a pitching standpoint?
Well, there's no question you've got to pitch down in the zone at Florida. But when I was there, it was a double whammy offensively. If you go down in the zone, the infield played really fast. If you went up in the zone, the ball jumps out of the ballpark. So, it's a difficult place to pitch. But they have outstanding pitching. So, our kids know that it'll be a challenge. But, when we went to Georgia Tech, it's a small right side, and you got to pitch to that. It plays a lot like Georgia does in our league. So, I think at this point in time, when you play 30 league games, our kids are prepared for anything. I mean, nothing's going to shock them. That doesn't mean you're going to win every game. It does mean, though, that your kids aren't going to be shocked. When a guy throws a ball 95 miles an hour, they've seen it before. When a guy throws a plus slider, they see it before. A guy hits a rocket right at him, they've seen it before. That's the benefit of getting into postseason. It's a little bit like the football deal. The football guys talking about a month of preparation going into it. The more we play, the more young guys get to grow up. They get to be a part of some things that are different. And that experience level is just invaluable.
I know it's early, but how much have you been thinking about pitching? Do you stick with the same 3 guys that got you through Atlanta, or is there a guy you take out and insert in there and keep 2 guys? What are you thinking on that right now?
Well, obviously, we're just so proud of what Rout did, and if he pitches like he did last weekend, he's very capable of beating anybody in the country, because that's a really good offensive club Georgia Tech has also. You really feel good about the way Evan pitched as well, because Evan really pitches well to left-handed hitting, and of course, Florida's got outstanding left-handed hitting too. So you feel right now it's going to be Evan and it's going to be Rout. In what order, you don't know. Paul Urano is going to be a factor. I've been asked several times, hey, you gave the grand slam against Florida. Polio is one of those kids you just feel really comfortable about giving him that other opportunity, because the guy, he just competes so hard. He's the guy who wants the ball. Hey, I didn't pitch well against him, give me another opportunity. And that's the kind of guy you want on the mound. So I'm sure he'll be a factor in some capacity.